Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast, your home for all things Washington Commanders. I hope you guys enjoyed our Declassified series on our draft picks. We're going to move on now. We're going to talk about a little bit about the offseason, some of the things going on there. And we're also going to start looking at some of these second-year players, man. A lot of them got some answers, some questions to answer. And we're going to jump right into that. Tonight, we're going to talk a lot about Luke McCaffrey. But first, fellas, Terry McLaurin not reporting to minicamp. Didn't go to the voluntary sessions. Eric, scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about this?
Is 1 the lowest we can go?
1 is the lowest.
Okay, then 1. I mean, I would be less than 1. This is pure off-season drama. That's all it is. Terry McLaurin will be a Commander this offseason. He will be under contract. This is not going to be – I'm not concerned at all. He's not suddenly going to turn into a diva at 29 years old. And hold out and cause a distraction. They're going to get a deal done. This happened in 2022. You know, he stayed away from off-season stuff until he got signed. It may not go quite as smoothly as it did in 2022. He may be asking for a little bit more money, but a deal will work out that Terry will be happy with, the team will be happy with, the fans will be happy with. Everybody's going to be happy by the time September rolls around. So I have zero concern that McLaurin's going to be under contract. And we are not going to trade him for Treylon Burks or whatever that nonsense was that I saw on Twitter today.
Treylon Burks. Come on now. Eric, what's the holdup, man? Why don't they have the deal done already?
Because it's a contract negotiation, and it's June, and that's all it is. You know, the team wants him here. He wants to be here. It's going to get worked out. These things just take time, and I'm not super concerned. You know, there was a report that he's frustrated, blah, blah, blah. That stuff that agents leak out to make to get the fans on the player's side and to get a deal done, whatever. It'll get done, and I'm not concerned. Now, if we're having this conversation in September, then yes, my concern level will be a little bit higher. I have zero concern right now that, you know, this may not be great podcast fodder, but count me as somebody who is not worried at all that Terry McLaurin's not going to be here in the fall and ready to roll.
Well, if we're still having this conversation in September, I'm going to be a little more than a little concerned because at that point, we got to go, right? So for the record, in 2022, when he held out, he had 82 catches, 1,100 yards, and 13 touchdowns. So he was just fine. I'm guessing that the length of the contract is probably some of what's being discussed, right, given his age. And then the fact that DK Metcalf just got his deal up in Pittsburgh. So it's an interesting situation. Mike, do you think that missing the offseason time is going to hurt him at all when it comes to getting in the flow of things? And not just him, but it is hurting Jaden Daniels in any way?
Nah, because they had that first year together uninterrupted with a mini camp, training camp, a full season, 3 extra playoff games. I don't think it will hurt. Would it have been beneficial? Of course it would. But knowing the player that Daniels has shown himself to be after the first season, knowing the player that McLaurin has been throughout his career since he became a Redskin in 2019, I have no concern over their chemistry, their ability to connect as soon as the contract does get signed, which I too expect to happen at some point. I'll say before the end of the month. I'll say let's just rerun 2022 all over again. Before the end of June, McLaurin will have his contract. I'll say it's another 3-year deal, and we're happy and we're singing until training camp.
You think a 3-year deal? That sounds about right.
Are we singing Jodeci?
Ooh, yeah.
By the way, all-time Goat Martin episodes is the one when he's singing Jodeci on that late-night talk show, and he kept taking the mic from. Love that episode. All right, so look, wide receiver contracts. Jamar Chase is $40 million average a year. Justin Jefferson, $35 million a year average. CeeDee Lamb, $34 million. DK Metcalf, $32 million. AJ Brown, $32 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, $30 million. Tyreek Hill, $30 million. Brandon Ayuk, $30 million. T. Higgins, $28 million. Jalen Waddle's 28 million, DJ Moore's 27, Devontae Smith is 25 million, Nico Collins is 24 million. Where in that list do you think that Terry should slot? Mike, go ahead.
I said 31 before all of this started. Like entering the offseason, I said 31. His camp might be pushing for 33. And I understand that. But knowing the player he is, knowing the receiver is, knowing the age he is, I'm not giving him 33. I just can't give him 33. So I think they might meet around the middle at 32. But if it's over 32, massive W for McLaurin's camp, for real.
So 32 million would put him at AJ Brown's level. I think AJ Brown got his deal a couple of years ago. DK Metcalf got 32 from the Steelers, 131 million over the whole deal. Granted, there's voidable years. I honestly, at this point, and I'm gonna be on an island. Like, this is Terry's last contract with us, his last major contract with us, I would guess, right? Because by the end of the deal, he'll be 33 years old. I'd give him more than CD at 34. I give him 35 million for 2 years or 3 years or something like that with a voidable year in the third year. Why not? I mean, it's kind of he's earned it, right? Like, he's one of the best receivers in the league when it comes down to it. Like, at least for us, he has higher value to us than I think he does some other teams in the league. I'd give him 35 if he was asking for it. Just
That's
put it
a
out.
team tax.
But we got cap space, and who you gonna fill it with?
I know,
Man.
And that's what I was trying to explain to people. We're the only team that's doing that. No other team is giving him over on a fair market. I'm just going to keep it a buck. No team is giving them over 31 million on the fair market. Like that, I'm just being honest. Washington will give him that. Washington, like, it's not outlandish for you to say that they like 35 million, because I get it. I understand where you're coming from. But I just want everyone to know that only Washington would pay that price for Terry McLaurin.
So 30, he does have more value to Washington than he does anybody else. From a, fan perspective, certainly, and even for a team perspective. But it's important to keep in mind that he's not hitting the open market this year. He's still under contract. He's got a year left. The average, what we're talking about is the average annual value of the contract, not the actual money that he's getting over the year. So if you do a 3-year deal with an average annual value of $33 million, I mean, that means you're paying him $66 million basically up front with avoidable like third year, maybe even more than that. So if you want to give him that for the next 2 years and have like a team voidable third-year contract, I don't think anybody's going to be mad, because he's really going to be, he's worth that money right now. He had a career year with 13 touchdowns. He had 80 catches. He had almost 1,100 yards. And just for what he's given us over the past 5 years with nothing at quarterback, he's put up 1,000 yards almost every year except his rookie year, where he put up 919 yards with quarterback play that very few players in the league would have tolerated, with the attitude of number one wide receivers around the league for the most part. He's been a great player. So I would agree with you completely that he's worth more to Washington than he is to other teams. 35 is kind of pushing it, but in the 32 to $33 million range, as an average annual value, I don't have a problem with that at all. Hopefully Adam Peters doesn't either. But again, I'm not concerned. I'm 100% positive a deal gets done before training camp.
Yeah, and the money doesn't matter till you got to pay Jaden, as far as I'm concerned. And a 3-year deal puts you right in that window when Jaden's deal is going to need to be re-upped. And at that point, Terry's probably not going to be around for Jaden's second contract, And so you can either draft his long-term replacement in one of the next 2 drafts, and then now you got him on a rookie contract. You see what I'm saying? So there's ways that you can manage this. Maybe it's a lifetime achievement award with that money. I get it, but hey, that's where I'm at. So look, going to those receivers we just talked about, I'm going to read off these receivers. You tell me if Terry's better or not, right? Like, and both of you can give an opinion on this. So I'm going to start with, so Terry's at 23 million. In that same range is Calvin Ridley.
100% Terry's better.
Okay. Well, yeah, I agree. Michael Pittman Jr.
Next,
Debo Samuel,
better. Terry's
Nico
better.
Collins.
Close.
I'm still
That's
taking
close.
Terry.
I'll take Terry.
I like
Close.
Nico, and I'm still taking Terry.
Yeah, it's a
No.
close call, but I'm thinking Terry.
Devontae Smith.
Terry.
Still
Okay.
Terry.
DJ Moore.
Terry.
Still Terry.
That's close though.
That's a
That's
tough
very.
one.
That's
It's
very close.
closer than people would want to admit, but it's Terry still.
I think Terry's going to be more durable over the long term than Debo will be, but Debo is a tough receiver, man. Like he's physical. I love his game. Jalen Waddle, Terry. I'm not even going to ask you guys. T. Higgins.
It's
Terry.
close.
Still
It's
Terry, but that's only because I don't know T. Higgins as a person.
That's That's kind of a homer opinion, but I'm gonna go with Terry on that. T. Higgins is pretty great, but injury history is a factor, and Terry blows him away there. Terry hasn't missed a game since 2020.
And T. Higgins has also generally always had the benefit of having Jamar Chase on the other side, right? So
and Barrow,
and Burrow
for the most part.
Yeah, being a number one's a different thing. Brandon Ayuk, assuming he's healthy.
Terry by a nose. No, Brandon
A
Ayuk.
nose, really?
I like Brandon Ayuk a lot. I think he's a really good receiver, but Terry's better.
Tyreek Hill at this stage.
Definitely Terry.
Yeah, I'll take Terry.
At this stage, definitely Terry.
Plus, Terry doesn't have a long rap sheet of domestic violence, so that's the.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That character concern
Tyreek,
is
I don't need to deal with.
too hard to ignore for Hill.
Okay. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Terry. It's close though. I compare Amon-Ra more to Debo than Terry, personally.
Yes, I was going to say the same exact thing.
Okay. You came kind of quick with that. It's kind of surprising. AJ Brown.
Okay, AJ is better than Terry.
He's a one-on-one nightmare. Like you don't need to scheme him open. He's a beast. I give him definitely Brown. And I know you're probably about to say Lamb next, right?
Nope, I wasn't actually. I'm taking Terry over AJ Brown. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think
you're smoking crack.
No way.
Goodness gracious!
Just came out punching tonight.
As a lifelong Washington fan, you are 100% smoking crack if you think Terry's better than AJ Brown. I love Terry, like a fat kid loves cake, but AJ Brown's better.
I don't think so.
Okay, man.
So. Mike, you agree with Eric?
Hey,
AJ
Philly
Brown.
fans,
AJ Brown.
I don't want to hear it from you morons this time. It's all Ellie. I'm taking
AJ. I'm gonna stand on that. I think Terry's better than AJ Brown. I would take Terry over AJ Brown any day of the week.
Let's pause for a second on AJ Brown.
You just troll it now,
because I don't think we talk about it. I haven't seen people talk about it. They've been talking about Saquon, the brother you love, Hurts, all this stuff. Brown had an excellent postseason run, young. Like, I can't think of many receivers that had a run like him. Like, he was dominant, especially in the NFC Championship game. The early plays that Philly got, they got it because he was able to physically impose that game.
But you're missing all the qualifiers. So you got
AJ Brown is as responsible for Jalen Hurts' success as Saquon Barkley is.
Easily.
No.
And look, I hate Philly and everything that they stand for, and their fans are morons, and I hate them all. But AJ Brown's still better than Terry.
All right, hit the comments if you're listening to this nonsense.
Okay, man. I'm sorry.
Tell us who you think, AJ Brown or Terry. I'm taking Terry all day, every day. All right, let's keep it going. DK Metcalf.
Terry.
Forgot about him. Terry.
DK is a one-trick pony. He's a I'll take Terry over DK.
All right. Wait, is AJ Brown taking that screen to the house against Detroit that Terry took to the house against Detroit? Yes or no?
Probably.
No.
It was a very well designed play. I'm not saying that McLaurin didn't cook, but it was a very well designed play. Now the question is, if Brown is over there that wide and on the hash marks, away from the hash marks or whatever, would Detroit lead only 2 players to cover those 3 players? Because it was, like I said, it was a well-designed play. if Brown is over there, it's probably a 3-on-3 and not the 2-on-1 or whatever. And yeah, but I feel like Brown can do plays just like that. Not saying that Terry's trash or anything. I'm just saying Brown is more of a physical thing. Like he's just a physically imposing player.
They wouldn't
Terry
run that
isn't.
play. They wouldn't run that play with AJ Brown. What they would do is run AJ Brown down the sideline and just throw the ball up in the air and let AJ bully everybody, come down with it, and throw people around until he got in the end zone. They're different types of receivers, but I mean, if you have like a draft where you can have, if I had a draft where I could have any player that I wanted and it was down to wide receiver and it was between AJ Brown and Terry, as much as I love Terry, I'm taking AJ Brown on that 100% of the time.
I'm gonna say the last thing I'm gonna say about Brown. He is in that mode of, and I'm not saying that he's better than him or as good as him or whatever, but he's in that Calvin Johnson, Dez Bryant mode where he's physically imposing more than he is a route technician.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell
back.
I'll compare it.
Go
AJ
ahead.
Brown, if you think about quarterback perspective, Terry McLaurin is Joe Burrow, AJ Brown is Cam Newton. At their peak, which one are you taking? As just like a force.
I was about to say, you had me until the end.
Maybe not Joe Burrow.
Peak.
If you're talking about at their peak, like Cam Newton was just like a physical force. Like it's just a different type of player. Mike Vick, Cam Newton. That's the kind of player that AJ Brown is. He's just a different beast that you have just a million problems dealing with at that position than what Terry McLaurin is.
But let me put it this way: I would take
I would take AJ Brown over pretty much everybody except for Chase and Jefferson in the NFL.
Same, maybe Lamb.
Nah, I would take AJ Brown over CeeDee Lamb.
I don't know that man
because AJ is a better name than CD. CD is just dumb.
So the rest of this list is Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. You're taking Terry.
I would put Terry
on
CeeDee Lamb's level. Chase and Jefferson, no. Maybe CD slightly above Terry, but I'd be fine either. I wouldn't argue if you put Terry above CeeDee Lamb. Chase and Jefferson are in the league of their own.
It's the age and the body frame. It's the age and body frame that I think favors CD over Terry. But if they were about the same age, I would probably lean towards Terry. But for the future or whatever, I'll take Brown. But yeah, the top two receivers in the league are Chase and Jefferson. It's been that way for this is the third season now where you can confidently say that. And I want one of them. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Random. Puka Nacua or Terry?
That's tough. I'll
take them both.
It's basically like a Rams fan would say Puka. Commanders fan will say Terry, so I'll say Terry. That's a home field advantage.
Right.
Because I feel like if you put Puka in the same position you put Terry in and put Terry in the same position as Nacua, they would both still produce what the person produced on the team that they're replacing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess. All right, you guys just hate Terry. Just say it out loud. All right, now moving on. Like I said, hit the comments. Let us know what you think. Also, hit the subscribe
Just because
button.
we said Brown is better?
No.
AJ Brown's not better. Not better. All right. We're going to talk Luke McCaffrey. So, Luke McCaffrey was drafted last year by Adam Peters. He was an inexperienced or an unpolished wide receiver, but he was highly intelligent, had the pedigree with his family. A lot of folks were excited about Luke McCaffrey, what he might bring to the table. His rookie season was underwhelming, even for a third-round pick, 101 overall. And so the question what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of what his prospect is like going forward. And is Luke McCaffrey in that place of you can't recover from this, or is he on a path towards success? So to kind of recap his last season, Luke McCaffrey played in just about every game almost, and he registered stats in most games, I think, except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 7 games he didn't register a single stat. He finished the year with 18 catches. 18 catches, fellas, on 26 targets. He only had 26 targets the whole year First of all, what's up with that? What's up with that? What do you think the reason is that Luke did not get more targets or get more involved in the offense as a whole? Eric, I'll start with you.
He's a rookie, pick number 100, who's been playing wide receiver for 2 years. He's just a developmental prospect. We say all the time, we talked about when we did the draft series this year that Adam Peters loves RAS guys. He loves super athletic players. It's exactly what Luke McCaffrey is. He's much more athletic than he was polished because he was a quarterback for his first 2 years in college. Then he switched to wide receiver, had moderate success in school, and then came into the NFL as a wide receiver. 100 or 101, wherever he was picked, might have been a little high for him, but you're banking on his athletic ability. But the fact is that if you're going to play wide receiver in the NFL, you either have to be the most dominant athlete on the field, a la AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, or you have to really work at your craft. And he didn't have a long time to do that. He only had he was a rookie with a short lifespan at wide receiver. So his rookie year was unimpressive based on that. Let's put it that way. He's not a polished wide receiver yet. It's really on him to fine tune his game to get those targets, get those reps moving forward. But as far as why he didn't get a lot of targets as a rookie is because he didn't have the nuances of the position down to the point where the coaches felt comfortable giving him more opportunities in the offense.
Yeah, I mean, especially in a season where you saw Zacchaeus, right, get plenty of targets. You saw Diam get targets towards the end of the season. You saw just about everybody on that roster.
Those are all guys that have been playing wide receiver for 10 years, going back to high school. Yeah.
I mean, we just got to say it, though, because I feel like, it's worthwhile to discuss. I mean, that's a blatant lack of involvement in offense. There's sometimes guys just get a couple catches. He didn't even get a couple catches a game. He averaged 1 catch a game and 2 targets a game, 1.5, something like that, targets a game. The other concerning part of this is his reception percentage. His was at 66%. Diami Brown, for comparison, was at 78.9% reception percentage, which I think does speak to something. I mean, Luke McCaffrey needs a lot of work. And with your rookie season coming out of the draft process, you don't get that time, that free time, right, in between those seasons to put in the work. Mike, are you at a place with Luke where you have optimism, pessimism, or are you still kind of neutral at this point regarding Luke McCaffrey?
Neutral with a slight lean of pessimistic. His snaps decreased during the season. I just discovered that literally seconds ago. That's what I was doing when I was looking at my phone. With that, knowing that his snaps decreased, knowing that they brought in another rookie receiver, there's still other receivers on the roster. I heard on X today, a Bama named Chris Moore was making plays in minicamp. I mean, it's minicamp, but still, that's another receiver name to throw in the hat. You hope pedigree starts to take over. You really hope that the pedigree starts to take over because at this point, I'm starting to feel like that's why he was drafted. It was so many other, I wouldn't say better players or whatever, but for what the roster needed at that time, you didn't really need to draft a developmental wide receiver with a top 100 pick, basically. So, yeah, I'm neutral still. I have a little bit of hope, but like I said, there's a slight lean to me being a bit pessimistic.
Eric, what about you?
You were in the first year of a rebuild. So pick 100 was absolutely a fine place to take a developmental wide receiver when you are coming off a 4-win season with a new coaching staff.
Developmental receiver, though? I'm not talking
All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of perspective. There was another receiver, a third-year player with a very good team who caught 19 passes on 33 targets for 216 yards with 0 touchdowns in the regular season. And that player was traded early on for a third-round pick by the alleged genius, mastermind, wizard, greatest GM of all time, Howie Roseman. That would be Jahan Dotson, a first-round bust that put up nearly identical numbers to Luke McCaffrey as a third-year player who a high draft pick, which turned into pick 79, was given up for. So you have a player who was taken at pick 100 who put up those numbers as compared to a player that the smartest person in the NFL traded a third-round pick for. So I'm not concerned at all about
But
Luke
we
McCaffrey.
laughed at that trade when that happened.
Of course we did, but everybody else thought it was the smartest move that anybody could have ever made. All I'm saying is, like, Luke McCaffrey he may or may not work out. I think his name is more of a curse than a help at this point. Everybody just saw that name and that pedigree and just assumed that he was going to be a superstar in the NFL because his brother and his dad were both like legit NFL players. And they didn't think about the fact that he's only been playing wide receiver for 2 years coming into the league. So all I'm saying is, like, he's on a 3 or 4 year deal as a third round pick. Let's let it play out. He may or may not turn into anything, but the production that he put out matched, whatever our prior first round pick receiver accomplished in the same season with a better team and a better supporting cast around him. So I'm not ready to write him off just yet, just based on that. So let's just see what he can do. And apparently he made a couple of plays at camp today too, even though nobody wants to talk about it because the narrative is out there.
I've been looking for something, so that's crazy. That if he actually did do something and I couldn't find it because I was searching for something because I want him to win. I have him on 2 dynasty teams. I need him to produce.
Okay, that's your fault for putting him on dynasty teams. I can't help you there. Yeah.
It's not like I drafted him in the first round or nothing.
You draft with your head, not with your heart, man. That's all I can say.
What's a waiver wire?
I don't see McCaffrey ever being anything more than like a halfway decent number 2
and like a 40 player dynasty league.
I don't know anything about what you're talking about right now. I'm in Ellie's league. I won it 3 years ago, and I won 2 games last year. So don't listen to me about anything.
That's right. So, like the great Rich Taylor, RIP, said, "Don't watch or don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do." Right. And this offseason, what have the Commanders done? Signed KJ Osborne, signed Michael Gallup, re-signed Noah Brown, traded for Deebo Samuel, drafted Jalen Lane. Right. On and on and on and on, attacking the wide receiver position, which to me says that I think at least to some degree, there's a level of uncertainty within the organization around most of the wide receiver depth, including Luke McCaffrey at this point, that they wanted to shore up. And now, granted, they lost Oz, they lost Diami. They didn't have to lose Diami. I think they chose to trade him, but nonetheless, it still matters. And then they brought back Noah and Gallup and Osborne and all those folks, plus the UDFAs that they're talking about there too. Personally speaking, I think it's a long road ahead for Luke. I agree with you. His last name is more problematic than it is beneficial at this point. But I think Luke has to show something this year. We saw the similar case with Diami. Diami's rookie year was really flat, right? I think he had was that Tennessee game his rookie year? I don't think that was his rookie. I think that was
that was second year.
Yeah, his rookie year was really underwhelming. And I think Luke is in that same boat. Diami never really fully came around, right? He had some good moments, but it was always just moments. Luke needs to produce, and he needs to do it early, but I'm concerned with the wide receiver depth that he's not going to get the opportunities to do it outside of the preseason. Eric, do you think it's a given that KJ and Gallup and Noah, all those guys are ahead of him on the depth chart?
No, I just look at their contracts. They're brought in as their contracts all say they're veteran depth. So I don't think all those guys make the team by any stretch of the imagination. And guys who the staff drafts have a better kind of an inside track to make the team more so. I think Michael Gallup makes the team for sure. I think Noah Brown makes the team. KJ Osborne, I don't know. They brought him in as a practice squad guy. towards the end of the year, and I think he might have suited up for some games and maybe got some snaps. But, again, he's a way more experienced receiver than Luke McCaffrey is. And Luke McCaffrey did show some value even in the return game. So depending on how Jalen Lane goes, that you got to put two guys back there on the returns. McCaffrey could be the other guy. I think you have a younger player who's cheaper and has probably more upside, may have a better chance to make the team than somebody like that. Like I definitely don't think like KJ Osborne and Noah Brown are basically the same guy. I don't think both of those guys make the team. Like I said, Gallup I think does because of the speed, as long as he's got something left in the tank. So no, I don't think it's a given that any of those guys. I think this coaching staff really wants there to be an open competition. And I'm not married to Luke McCaffrey by any stretch of the imagination. If somebody's better than him, whatever, cut him. It's fine. He'll be fine. He'll get somewhere else. But we're not at a point with a he was a day 2 pick, but he was like the last player picked in the 3rd round, so he's basically a 4th round pick because he was a supplemental draft pick. Big deal, right? If you lose him, you lose him. Those are the guys you kind of take a flyer on. He's a great athlete. There might be something there to work with, but if not, you move on. You just cut bait. Don't just try to keep him just because you drafted him and you don't want to look dumb. If he's not the guy, let him go. That's completely fine. But I think he's got as good a shot as any of those other guys on the roster. Obviously Terry and Debo are going to make the team. Noah Brown's probably going to make the team because they really like them. But outside of that, I mean, he's got as good a chance as any of those guys to be on the roster this year.
All right, I want you guys to reforecast Luke McCaffrey's career. So when I went back and listened to our episode when he was drafted, I think you guys projected him. Eric, I think you said Cooper Kupp, and Mike, I think you said Joe Juravicius.
Did I really say Cooper Kupp? I'm an idiot.
I was about to say, I know I didn't say no daggone Joe
Juravicius. You just picking white guys out of a hat for us to
I was like, man.
I don't think I said Cooper Kupp.
All right, you did not.
Okay,
Mike, where do you got? Where is McCaffrey going from here in his career?
I say his floor is WR4. Like I feel like even now, on this roster, he's comfortably WR4. Like it's not even up for debate for me. He's at least that. As far as career, man, he might turn into it could be a James Thrash type situation. Like where he excels in special teams and comes in and make a few key plays every now and then. I feel like that at this point after the first season, that's the trajectory. It's not that he's going to be trash. It's just that he's not going to be his brother or father. And that's perfectly fine if his career turns into James Thrash. I would take that. That's a player, a type of player you want on your team. So that's why I say his floor is WR4.
Now, what I've learned about you is you're a massive fan of James Thrash and what he contributes to this team.
You need a player like that. You need a modern player. Modern player. I'm trying to think. Shoot. Maybe I'm gonna say Hardman. Mecole Hardman.
Maybe not
stylistically, but like I said, a special team ace that comes in and makes a play every now and then. Like he can be a type of player that catches 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl because you're so focused on the first 3 receivers. Oh shoot, I forgot about Luke McCaffrey. He's tearing my CB4 up right now, and I have no plan. To switch it. They're isolating him one-on-one with this man, and it's the biggest game ever, but I can't do nothing with it. I'll give him that. So James Thrash, Mecole Hardman. And I was trying to stay away from white receivers. I didn't want to compare him to him.
Ed McCaffrey, that's the comp.
But so yeah, I'll give you all those two. Like I said, his floor is WR4. Like if he'll always be that. Like if the season he had last year, if that's the type of season he has every career, just get better marginally every season, I'm okay with that. I'm just saying I feel like there could have been better uses for that pick in 2024. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. You think his floor is WR4, meaning that's as low as he's going to go?
Yeah, I think his
Yeah.
floor is. I think his floor is UFL.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's like think about it.
People
Like,
say I'm
I
tough on Alabama. My goodness.
No, I'm just saying I like him, but I think I don't have him penciled in as like I don't just hand him a roster spot. I think he could be a practice squad guy or cut as a floor,
if he
an absolute floor. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
He's still better than I am at wide receiver. Not much though. No, just kidding.
I got the video to prove it, but
yeah, I think his ceiling, his absolute like ceiling, in my opinion, is like low end wide receiver 2 in the NFL for like a crappy team. Just because I don't know that he's ever going to be a superstar in this league. He could reach that, like, I'm trying to think of a like Mario Manningham level of guy that is opposite of a halfway decent wide receiver 1, or I don't know, who did we have? Maybe Jahan Dotson. That would be his, like Jahan Dotson playing opposite Terry McLaurin. He could be that as a ceiling. I could see him, like Michael Gallup actually doesn't seem like a bad comp for like a ceiling for him, being like a 45 catch, 500-yard receiver for a couple of years. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite or top level or wide receiver 1 at any point in his NFL career, but he could, be that third or second, low end second or third wide receiver for teams. I don't see any reason that he couldn't do that if he puts the work in. But yeah, floor, I think UFL or whatever, Canadian Football League or something like that. There's no reason. I can't guarantee that he's ever going to make it in the NFL. But we'll see. I still like him as an athlete.
Yeah, like the problem I think he's going to run into is I think they're going to keep drafting wide receivers over the next few years.
And they should.
They should, yeah. And if Jalen Lane works out, he's already not wide receiver 4. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like, to me, I think it's much more likely that he's not wide receiver 4 than he is wide receiver 4. Because you still have Noah Brown, you still have Michael Gallup, and if Jalen Lane becomes anything, then he's out. And if man, listen, they drafted Jalen Lane. I got to keep saying that. Like, he does the same thing that Luke McCaffrey does, but faster, right? So I don't know. It's kind of questionable to me. I think his ceiling at this point, based on what we know and the evidence that we have, is Olamide Zaccheaus. I think he can be one of those types of players. He's going to make his hay in the league in the slot. I think he's got too much ground to make up in route running to be an outside receiver. I think if he could just be schemed open in the slot, one-on-one coverage, and then sits in soft zones and things like that and make plays, he can make a living that way. Now, I'm also say this because I know there's a lot of Luke McCaffrey fans out there. I think if he comes in his rookie or his second year and really shows that growth and progression, he's going to force us to reforecast this, right? He may go from a ceiling of Olamide Zaccheaus to something much, much greater. It's happened before. The concern that you have is he's just not showing you anything elite to pin your hat on in the second or in his rookie season that he had. So it's up to him really how far he goes. All right. Any final thoughts on Luke McCaffrey, Eric?
First ballot Hall of Famer. I changed my mind.
So you do like Cooper Kupp comparisons now?
Yeah, Cooper Kupp comparison. Absolutely.
All right. Mike, final thoughts. Tell me why Terry's better than AJ. Go.
I can't. But no, I said this. I think after the season. I'm sorry. He's the key. He being McCaffrey. He's the key to this offense either being decent again, okay, or being freaking explosive. If he has any progression for 2025, it just makes the receiving core that much better. Because now on top of worrying about McLaurin and Debo and Ertz, you got the McCaffrey to worry about. I know we talked about the pedigree a lot this episode, but I mean, that's what happens when you have a Hall of Fame father and a Hall of Fame brother playing in the NFL. You're going to get compared to them. We're going to be doing the same thing in a couple of years with a Longhorn soon.
Yeah, I think the best thing that happened to Luke McCaffrey is Deebo Samuel. I think Luke can learn a lot from Deebo Samuel's game, and really, hopefully, put it into his game and his skill set, and then become a better player. And maybe he becomes the eventual Deebo replacement. You never know, but maybe that's Jalen Lane too. Anyway, we love Luke McCaffrey. We just got to sort of talk about where he is in his career, what might come of it, and we're rooting for everything for the best for Luke McCaffrey and you folks as well who take your time to listen to this podcast when you have many other things to do. We appreciate you. As always, spread the word, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Commanders Declassified, we are out of here.